Most kids, when they're aspiring young athletes, they have the dream of making it to the top of their sport, whatever it may be. And if that's cycling, that's to get a chance to race at World Tour level. And for the women's peloton, it's to ride the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift. I'm Matt Keenan, and today with the Meridian Bike Bug team, I'm getting a chance to talk to two women who have been to the top of the sport and two young aspiring stars of Australian cycling, hopefully one day world cycling. So let's kick it off. And Tracy, you get to go first. You're somebody that's come to the sport a little later in life, not as a junior, but then you had great success, a dual Olympian as well, multiple Australian champion. It's a fair CV.
Thanks, Matt. We don't often think about it that way, but I started in my very early 20s, and at that stage in the mid-1990s, the international system and structure was quite a lot more primitive than it is now. And at that stage...
Primitive is polite.
Well, you know, we have been in politics for a while. At that stage, the state institutes of sport in Australia were paramount to a cyclist journey, and the VIS, you know, in the state where the Meridian Bike Bug is registered, was vital for me. The way to get overseas was really about friends of friends, phoning a friend and finding a spot on an international regional team who could compete in races in the country where there was a UCI registered race. So that was my start. It was sleeping on couches, finding the cheapest airfares. I'm sure that probably hasn't changed too much.
There's still plenty of that, no
Bringing
doubt.
your own equipment and figuring it all out. When we look at now, the structure, a lot's changed.
And Grace, you started slightly later. You were in your early 20s as well, just like Tracy.
Yeah, I was 23 when I started cycling. I moved over from running, and it was a bit of a birth of fire for me finding my way in cycling. I started off in the NRS, as it was then, and eventually got an opportunity with Oz Cycling, as it was Cycling Australia then. They had a women's development team, and that was my first trip over to Europe.
What about your first trade team? Was it the Holden Gusto team?
I actually did a stint on Bike Bug.
Perfect.
Yeah, it was a different iteration of Bike Bug. I was like a stagiaire. I did a few races with them, and then the following year I started with the Holden team. So
these teams are incredibly important as a stepping stone, and we'll talk about your role later with the UCI and those stepping stones. Tell us some of the riders that went through that team that you're with, the Holden Gusto team.
Yeah, it was a fairly star-studded team. We had Shannon Malseed, who was national champion in 2018. Yeah,
it was the year before Sarah Giganti.
Yeah, years existed before 2020. 2018. And then we had Leeson Hocking, we had Kimberly Wells, who was Australian crit champ. We had Sarah Giganti. She came on as a young 16-year-old, and it was her real development breeding ground. I remember her determination to become one of Australia's best was evident from the age of 16. It was
Brodie Chapman she was on the team at some stage.
Was on the team. Yeah, she was on the team the year before I joined, and then came back as a guest rider once or twice.
So, Mia, what do you reckon? We put the team together, get the band back, and we have Sarah, Grace Brown, Brodie Chapman. It'd be an incredible team, wouldn't it?
Yes, I'm pretty sure we wouldn't lose.
So we've got Mia Williams with us and Inez Cashman. You've come from a running background as well.
Yes.
Did you get injured? Was that the transition?
Yeah.
Her injury in running is the best running injury that cycling in Australia's ever had.
Okay. What was your injury?
A stress fracture to my femoral head.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty significant. Yeah. No, I did get into it from running. I had kind of an unusual injury. I had a cyst in my lower back that gets inflamed when I run. It was a bit of an unusual one that was found through lots of running. And my parents are cyclists, so they sort of suggested that I might enjoy jumping on the bike. I was also 23 when I first got on a bike, and I probably was almost 24 when I first raced. So I was already working full time for the government in Canberra. It was very much a hobby, and it just kind of slowly took off from there. Like Grace, joined an NRS team, and then eventually did a stint in Italy with the Down Under Cycling Academy that Valentina Scandalara has been running, which was an amazing opportunity to dip my toe in the European racing scene, although it was definitely a baptism of fire. Like, we had an amazing UCI race calendar that year, and I found myself up against, you know, World Tour teams in my first race in Europe. So that definitely kind of lifted the lid on the level difference. And then last year I spent most of the year in Spain racing for a club team. So similarly, I found myself just writing to like every team I could find a contact address for. I probably emailed like hundreds of teams, just with your CV and, you know, basically asking for any opportunity, and a club team in Spain gave me that. And that was amazing because I was able to do some UCI racing and then a lot of national level racing and get some results and kind of learn how to race for the win, which is pretty exciting. And now it's going to be a super exciting year with Meridian Bike Bug.
Does it sound like a familiar story?
Very, very familiar.
So not everything has changed.
No, and the interesting thing is, maybe we'll find out when you started racing and jumped on a bike in earnest, but 23, early 20s is a similar age, and I took up cycling to overcome a serious illness. And so the journey to the start line doesn't have to happen as a junior, but it does show the longevity in the sport and the opportunities, particularly for women.
And when she says serious...
I was recovering from leukemia and did not have an elite sport background. And so how I landed and found this cycling as my sport, it was about health, it was about outdoors, it was about pushing yourself in a way that was different to survival, and it was social. And so look what's happened. Great things can happen when you get on a bike.
Yeah, and the next generation always needs shoulders to stand on. When you look at these two and what they've achieved from starting at a similar age to you, what do you think?
Oh, I mean, I personally, like, it's super inspiring because I think especially now as things become more professional in especially the women's side, it is harder and harder to see role models and riders around you that have started later. Like for me, it was definitely something that there was a lot of doubt about whether it was worth even pursuing it at a high level because, you know, you see so many girls now picked up at 17, 18, 19 and you feel like, well, a team won't even look at me at 28 I am now. So it's really amazing. Every story you hear from a rider that says, like, you know, don't worry about it, keep going. Like, yeah, it's super inspiring.
What do you dream of achieving?
Oh, I mean, it would be amazing to be on a world tour team and be like making a living out of racing. I think that's the dream.
That's one of the key elements of this team, Grace, is its desire is not to keep the riders on the team, it's to have them go to bigger teams.
Yeah, I think it's really important, and just hearing that story as well. You know, now we're seeing a lot of female riders start their career at a young age, and it feels like if you're in your early 20s, there's this rush to get to the World Tour, but we actually see that riders that take longer in that early 20s period have more longevity in their career because it's actually a struggle if you go straight onto a World Tour team at that young age. And I think having a team like Meridian Bike Bug really filling that transition zone from being a junior to like those years where you just need to keep coming back and gaining experience. And then, eventually you'll be at a point where you're ready to join a World Tour team. And then you'll go on there and you have experience and you can contribute and survive the racing. And it's a much more pleasant experience.
One of the challenges for any athlete or in any pursuit in life is to not get distracted by somebody else's journey. You can take inspiration by somebody else's journey, but not get distracted by it. And Mia, yours has been completely different to the other three here. How old are you at the moment?
I'm 20 right now.
You're 20, so you're ahead of the curve.
Yeah, I actually started cycling when I was 12. So I kind of first ever rode a road bike when I was 11, doing the Great Vic bike ride. And from there, I just kind of got into some of the school cycling and participating in the Victorian Junior Road Series. And then, in under 19s, the origination of Meridian Bike Bug as an under-19 program. I rode through that in under-19s.
And
And
you're selling yourself short. Didn't you win the National Road Series under 19?
Yes, I won in 2023. I won the under 19 Junior Road Series, so that was a really good experience. I'm pretty sure there's only 3 rounds, but yeah, all around across Australia.
But someone's still got to win it.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
It's hard to win one race, let alone win across 3 rounds.
Yeah, it was actually a really good experience because, being able to race for the win in under 19s as well, when, especially in my age group, there's been a lot of very strong riders that are quite a few in like World Tour teams now. So yeah, that was really cool to be able to do that.
And when you see some of those athletes that you competed against through the junior ranks and they are at World Tour level, does that give you self-belief?
Yeah, I think it does. Like, I mean, they were quite a bit stronger than me in under 19s, but knowing that I have raced against them and seeing their progression through the sport, like it's not like in under 19s they are at the level they're at now. The steady progression and just following a similar curve, maybe a couple years behind, but still knowing that like anything's possible. If you just keep persisting, keep trying, keep training, keep racing, and just keep loving the sport.
You both touched on it. Sometimes it can be into the World Tour too soon and you've still got to have that habit of winning.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And I think for me, like going into the World Tour, I think I was 26 once I signed for Mitchelton Scott. And you have a maturity then that allows you to cope with the level of pressure a lot better. And also if you go through those stages, you know, you both mentioned learning how to win, not just going there and surviving and, you know, being in the scrum the whole time. I think that, you know, it's a positive reinforcement, but it also gives you the opportunity to learn different roles within the race.
Yeah, I want to learn about some of the riders on your team. So I'm going to rattle through the names and you're going to give me a brief synopsis on each of them. In fact, we're going to start with Mia. Tell us about Inez. What do we expect to see from her on the bike? No pressure. Well, she's right there.
Inez is a very strong climber. So we're missing her actually a bit in Pro Mello, especially with Tour of Tassie coming up. But yeah, she's a very strong climber. She did very well at Tour of Bright in December last year. Got fifth, yep. Against some pretty strong riders, Talia Appleton and Brodie Chapman. So she actually got the QOM up Mount Buffalo. Yeah, and she will bring some good experience to the team because we've got quite a young team. Like, I think I'm like the 3rd or 4th oldest and I'm only 20. So having her will be very good, kind of like the mum of the team when we're over in Europe together. So.
All right, so mum.
Yep.
Now, what are your thoughts on Mia as a rider?
Oh, well, Mia's obviously, as she said, like, you know, been riding since she was a kid. So Mia's super strong and such a smart bike rider. I notice, like, particularly, you know, we've only done one race on the same team, but we did nationals together. And Mia was always super well positioned. She's really confident and comfortable in the bunch. And that comes from her long experience racing, but also stints in Europe as well. Mia's a nice punchy rider, so we're looking forward to seeing her in all those sort of like tricky Belgian races and Northern France races, where I think Mia is like a good chance for a good result in some of those.
That comment on positioning,
yeah,
that's what really caught my attention, and I'm sure from your experience, that's one of the biggest steps you've got to take from going from racing in Australia to racing in Europe.
It's huge, and there's nothing like experience to help grow you, but coming in with a sudden start or a steep uphill can be quite damaging for someone's confidence and what's possible. You know, back in those eras where you went from a domestic team straight into an international regional team with no transition, was really daunting. And when we look at that, you know, the conversation around learning to win and being comfortable with winning, I actually retired after 3 years because I was demoralised. I'm never going to make it. And then after a year off, Lizzie Tadich became my inspiration, winning a silver medal, who's 10 years younger than me.
Younger than you, yeah.
And came back, and then within a year was number 3 in the world and winning all these big races. And so learning the craft and having the confidence and the support around you is vital.
So you retired after winning a national road title?
Yes.
And having gone to the Atlanta Olympics?
Correct.
And then you retired, you thought you weren't good enough.
I thought I was not good enough.
The bar's high.
The bars are really high.
But my rise was so quick. It was 3 years to the Olympic Games and 2 years to my first national title. And the expectation you place on yourself is very, very high. It's a long game.
Yeah.
You know, it's a long game. And so it took me the time to step back, remember how passionate I was about cycling, and to come back in with a sense of, okay, we can play this long game. I'm not too old, not too long in the tooth. And that's when all of the successes came.
So on the positioning,
Well,
what was your gut reaction to that? I don't know.
Oh, just listening to Tracy's story there, like my first time racing over in Europe, I found it really difficult in the European peloton. And I also thought, I'm never going to make it in pro cycling. I was struggling to make it to the front of the bunch. I was getting dropped 20 Ks out from the finish, like every race. I managed to finish most races, but like nowhere near the front. And I remember a phone call to my parents saying, look, I'm going to come home. This is it. I'm not going to pursue cycling anymore, or at least at that level. And then I got back home. I gave myself some time and went back to the NRS, and I realised how much I'd improved from that time just in the peloton. And then I came back to the national championships in the following January, and that's when I came third there. And that was just like, from there on, everything had soaked in. But it's, yeah, sometimes you think you're not going to make it, but you just need to step back a bit and let the experience sink in.
Take a helicopter view of yourself. Yeah, because racing in Australia and then racing in Europe, the peloton's 3 times as big and the road's half as wide. Yeah. It's a challenge. Okay, you're up next, Mia. Quinn Finlay.
Quinn was actually racing with Inez last year in Spain. She's a really strong rider in the team. We actually both raced in under-19s together. I remember in Oceania's riding up Mount Cootha together, encouraging each other along. Yeah, she's a really strong all-round rider. She likes a bit of climbing as well and the longer style races. So also she'll be at Warney with us in a couple of weeks. So I'm looking forward to...
Watch this space.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, one of the Kiwis, she's hiding in the background. Ava Madison.
Well, Ava is our newly crowned under-23 Kiwi road champion. So that's pretty amazing. Ava also has some time trialling skills, which is really cool because that's kind of another discipline that we don't see heaps of, so it's good to have a few riders on the team who can time trial.
Seal of approval over here.
And Ava also has European experience, so she spent time with the Black Magic squad last year in Europe. So yeah, Ava's been to a lot of the races that we'll do this year, and that's super important as well. Brings, you know, knowledge of the routes and how the racing might go, and has got a good punch, as we saw in the road championships in New Zealand.
All right, while we're on Kiwis and time trials, you won a national time trial title as well, didn't you?
Yep, there's a few of those. And time trialling's not
two
just
time trial national titles.
Two time trial national titles and 1 road race title. I'll just say, you know, time trialling for time trialling's sake is great, but it's also good for bridging gaps, driving breakaways, a really cool skill to have and strength.
Yeah, okay. Kirsty Watts.
Speaking of time trialists, Kirsty recently won the under-23 national time trial over in New Zealand. She raced with Meridian last year in Pro Velo and was just, as you say, always on the front. Whenever something needs to be brought back, she would just drill it on the front for a few Ks and all of a sudden we'd all be back together. Really strong rider, just always super domestic as well. Whenever she needs to do something, if she's told on the radio to do it, she will do it straight away. So I'm also looking forward to her getting some opportunities for herself this year, and just see where she can go. Because she's also, like Ava, they're both only second year under 23s, so still very young.
And now that you're in the commentary box with us, you see the surname Watts, and it's like a free kick for a commentator, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's like she's born into cycling.
All right, one with a bit more experience, Alyssa Pilates. Who wants to take that one?
You go.
Well, Alyssa's with us was with Meridian last year and is back with Meridian Bike Bug this year, particularly for Pro Velo before she goes off and pursues her track ambitions that she's been absolutely smashing the last few months. So that's super exciting. Yeah, Alyssa would be easily the most experienced rider on the team in terms of European racing and racing at a professional level because she had a stint in the World Tour with Jayco. But Alyssa brings like an amazing road captain role to the team. She's doing an amazing job leading and mentoring the girls, especially through the Pro Velo series, as well as obviously being a super talented rider in her own right. So Alyssa just brings a really amazing energy to the team, and she has a really clear idea, I think, of the kind of team culture that is important and creates longevity for riders, and she's an integral part of helping create that at the moment.
I'm really hopeful she has a story similar to yours in that she, dropped back from World Tour level.
She did.
She's good enough to get back there.
And I have a direct experience with Alyssa. One day I'm riding around at my leisurely pace around Albert Park Lake, as you do when you've done
half wheel in front the whole time.
A whole 60 kilometres, and up rides Alyssa. Didn't know anything about who I was, and that's really cool. So we're striking up a chat. She'd just talked about stepping back from the World Tour, regrouping, refinding herself. And what came through loud and clear for me was she was going to find a way. Yeah. And 3 years later, look at what she's doing. So we also look to young and aspiring athletes, and we quietly follow them in their journey. It's great to see Alyssa on Meridian Bike Club. Yeah.
Okay, now we're going for the 3 young riders on the team. Amelie Sanders.
Amelie, she is a great sprinter. First year in under 23s and already got second in the third stage at SA Kick-It in the sprint there. She'll be looking for the Belgium races, lots of the bunch sprints. Super good at positioning as well, especially being with ARA the last 2 years. So she's had a bit of time in Europe in the under 19 scene and also doing some like the national kermesses. So she's already got a bit of that like pro peloton experience, not pro, but
And she got a little bit of white line fever.
Oh yeah.
We're on the start line. She's locked in.
She's got that sprinter energy.
Yeah. At the Nationals last year in the under 19s, she won the time trial, she won the crit, and she got second in the road race. Not a bad start.
Not bad.
Okay.
She's going to do big things.
Yeah. Next up, Hannah Giannati.
Hannah's also first year under 23. Hannah's a bit more of a climber star rider as well, and has, similarly to Amelie, spent time on ARA last year. Yeah. And so she's also spent a little bit of time in Belgium and also went to Junior Worlds last year and performed super well. So Hannah's a really exciting rider. Like she's going to be someone who we'll look to in those sort of hillier, more attritional races this year. And I'm looking forward to, seeing how she does in those climbing races and hopefully working together. Yeah, it'll be great. So Hannah's got a really bright future.
All right, I don't know much about Georgia Gardner.
So Georgia has been off racing for about 8 months or so now. Yeah. She was in Europe last year racing and had a crash and had some internal bleeding. So she's been recovering since then. She'll be lining up with us in a couple of days at Tour of Tasmania, first race back. So it'll be interesting to see like the fitness she's built on since then. Last year in under 19s, I'm pretty sure she got third in the time trial.
Yeah, the Nationals.
In under 19s, at Nationals. Yeah. So another time trialist. Got a few time trials on the team. So it'll be exciting to see. She's had a little bit of experience in Europe, but just taking that next step this year.
And where the guidance comes from is really important as well. So they've got 2 sports directors. I want to start with you to talk about Taryn Heather and the role that she can play with this team.
Yeah, well, Taryn was actually on my first NRS team. I spoke about doing a stagiaire role on Bike Bug, and she was on that team. And I specifically remember doing the Tour of the Southwest down in Warrnambool, horrendously windy, and she taught me how to ride in a crosswind. And I've taken that advice with me all through my career. It came in handy a lot. So I think she's like the perfect person to, she had a great career as well. She ventured over to Europe as well, had not the smoothest run of it there, but she learnt a lot, and I think she's got a lot of wisdom to impart on a continental level team.
Was she top 10 at the Worlds in an individual time trial?
Oh,
I think she might have been close to it in Denmark in 2011. Yeah. I think she beat Ashley Moolman-Pasio and Longo Borghini was just in front of her, something like that.
That's impressive.
That is impressive. So you're another time trial's in really good hands. And then in Europe, in particular, they've got Crystal Heremans, who's got so much experience with she is the Donna Ray-Zielinski of Belgium cycling.
She absolutely is, and I know Crystal personally from my days on the UCI, on the board of the UCI. At that stage, in the early 2010s, there weren't a lot of women in the infrastructure of cycling, and Crystal came forward as this extraordinarily passionate female road director. She was on, I recall, the Belgian Road Commission. She was driving for women's cycling all of the time, and she came up against a lot of brick walls, as many women did in the generation. And for someone based in Belgium, teaching racecraft, knowing who's who in the zoo, and helping to create those pathways that are really hard to create on your own, what a great asset to have as a DS in the team.
Yeah, I think it's a huge coup for the team to have that. What about the race calendar? And this is one of the challenges in your role with the UCI, is the structure of the sport. It's good at the top. There's lots of teams at the bottom, the third tier, but there's not many in the middle. But that also provides a great opportunity for Meridian Bike Bug.
So for context, we have the structure is world teams. There are 14 women's world teams. There are pro teams. There are 7 women's pro teams. And then there are continental teams, and there are 41 women's continental teams. The only continental team from Oceania is Meridian Bike Bug. What that means is, I've had a look at the race calendar that you're going to be competing in from April till September.
That's impressive.
Meridian Bike Bug is showing up to what are called classification 1 and 2 races, where continental teams and national teams mostly race, as well as invitations into the Pro Series, which is only one level below the World Tour. And in that level, all of you girls are going to be racing against World Tour teams, other continental teams, Pro Series teams and national teams. What an extraordinary opportunity for development, for exposure, and for seeing what the opportunity looks ahead. It's absolutely amazing to be part of that structure.
Here's the race calendar. Have a look at that, Grace. See which races jump off the page at you, and maybe give a couple of tips on how they can get the job done.
There's some good ones there that I can give you some tips on how to win.
Having won one of them in particular?
I've won a few of them. I've won Brabant's Pil.
That's the one that jumped off the page at me with you.
Won GP de Plumelec Morbihan.
Yeah.
Bretagne Tour. Yeah,
Just
I think
rattling them.
Yeah. It's not a to-do list.
We have that race. We have that race in common. A couple of generations later.
Which one?
Bretagne Tour of
really?
Bretagne.
That's so good.
You won that as well?
Yep. Way back when.
There you go.
Okay, so some tips.
Some tips. Yeah. Well, Brabant's Pil is like a really good race. I think it's going to be the race that you do on the calendar that's like most like the top classics. You have to be in position because the peloton's getting stretched, and there's these cobble sections that can be really rough. Being near the front of the peloton really helps. And then it's sort of a race of attrition. And the time I won, I broke away solo. But you can also, it finishes on this like nice little climb where you often see a rider break away or a small sprint in the finish. So there's a lot of different ways to win that race. But I think that will be an experience that you really want to soak up. It'll be tough, but I think being in that peloton with a lot of World Tour teams as well is going to be really valuable.
Did the racing in Warrnambool get you ready, both of you, for Brittany, the Tour of Brittany?
Brittany is renowned for wind.
Yeah.
You know, they're not the big long hills of the Pyrenees or the Alps. You know, they're shorter, draggy hills or short climbs. But the wind can be your curse, or it can be your asset. And you talked about Taryn showing you how to ride in the wind and in the crosswind. That's a skill that is worth gold.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
we'll
one
need to get
pick up.
some tips from her before we head over.
Yeah. Just The faster you go forwards, the less you go sideways.
I like that. So, well, then so not everything always goes according to plan. Say they hit a bump in the road, they get ill, or they don't get the result they're looking for within April or May at the start of the campaign, but they've still got July, August, September. What are your tips of dealing with setbacks?
I think it's always a matter of like seeing, okay, what can I learn from this experience? It may not have been as positive as I hoped. It was really tough. But then you take the learnings and then you set it aside and you look towards your next opportunity and think, okay, how can I make this opportunity new? How can I put my best foot forward on this day? And you just have to keep resetting and going forward like that. And when you do have a good day, you need to celebrate it. So, and the wins might not be crossing the line first. It might be the fact that you made it to the front of the peloton or you were in a breakaway that day. So I think you have to be really conscious of those process goals and the small little bits of improvement, because sometimes you don't feel it in the moment. So reflection is important.
For me and peers in the generation I race, and I don't think it's too dissimilar, it's the time off the bike that's just as important as the time on the bike. So if you are sidelined for any period of time, whether it be injury or illness, or you don't make the start list for the team for that particular race, your role in supporting your colleagues and your rider friends is important. You learn a lot by watching the race as well as being in it. And that's really rich, because when you're back on the bike, you can think about what could I do differently when I'm racing? What have I learnt by watching others? And for me, that was really rich to be looking at. Yeah, you might be the number one rider in one race, but you might be a domestique in the other race, and you might be watching. But there's always an opportunity to learn and bring that learning back onto the bike.
And as last year in Spain, given you've had a professional career already and that's on pause, did you find those periods where you weren't racing one of the hardest bits to challenge with?
Oh no, I loved it.
You loved it, you embraced it. Oh, good.
I've soaked in, I think, having, obviously my background's a bit different to some of the other girls that I've lived in Europe with and raced with, and my advice to them has always been to enjoy this and soak it up, like when you're training in Italy or training in the south of Spain like I was last year. Like, this is not normal, not a normal experience necessarily, and I think that's helped me keep all of the racing and the expectation or pressure that you put on yourself in perspective. That for me, this was an experience I never thought I'd have, and so every time I get to have another experience in a different country or spend time pursuing this, it's just an amazing opportunity, because I could have made a different choice and still been sitting at a desk in an office every day, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just not quite as exciting as spending 6 months living in Spain. So I think that helps, because for me, I feel like every year I get to do this is like a gift. It's another year I get to pursue this thing, and when I'm done, I'll go back to my career. But I'd like to be doing it for as long as possible. So I think keeping that perspective for me has helped not get lost in like the moment and the pressure of like the next race or the next result.
Love it. For you, Mia, have you thought about what defines a successful 2026?
For me, I think it's mostly about coming back from Europe stronger and more experienced than I was leaving, which I think is bound to happen anyway. I've been in Europe the past 2 years, last year racing with the Dutch club team and the year before a French club team. So it will look a bit different this year being on a team where everyone's speaking English all the time. But yeah, just taking the next step as well in racing, where we've got basically a full UCI calendar this year, where I've just done a couple of UCI races in the past. So being able to race at that level, and hopefully by the end of it being able to participate in the races rather than just like holding on for dear life. So yeah, coming back with like some good finishes will be successful for me, and just feeling more confident in myself as a rider as well.
I think it's fair to say we're going to be watching closely and supporting, aren't we? The whole team.
Oh, absolutely. And we're so proud of you all, and we're so proud of the team standing up and stepping up to the UCI calendar and as a continental team.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's really exciting, and I hope that a lot of the races will be televised so that we can follow along. Sometimes it's hard at the continental level, but yeah, we'll definitely be keeping tabs on the results and seeing how you go, and yeah, checking in when you get back home.
All the best for the year ahead. We're going to be following it closely. We hope you do too. Follow them on the socials. Meridian Bike Bug, they've got a big year ahead.